And it's pretty important to have animals on your property that look at you with anticipation instead of looking at you with fear. I'm going to show you this morning how we halter break as it relates to beef cattle. And this is what we've done for many years. Without good cattle handling equipment, it's imperative to make sure that they have a relationship with you that isn't one that's going to be going through your fences or taking you out. I like to try to get them domesticated as early as I possibly can. I'm going to go ahead and show you that process now as we halter breaking. It's much better to have them in a fairly small environment when you're catching them. That way they can't really run around too much. Can position yourself. See if I can get him first time here. Come on, dude. So as I get the rope on him, I can either rodeo him or just kind of allow him to understand that, hey, he's got something on his neck. And typically what we'll do is we'll get him around something solid. So I'll see if I can take a wrap on one of these poles down low. Come on, get behind him. We'll get him around the front. We'll get him to go underneath that, like that. Then we've got him. Just when dealing with any animals, any livestock that you're taking it slow, and this animal here is actually very, very calm for having this be the first time I've ever put a rope on him. He fought for a little bit, and he'll probably continue to fight a little bit more. But if you move calmly around them so that they know that you're not, going to be a threat to them, that just makes all the difference in the world. Yeah, another thing that I think is very important to bring up is just animals read body language before all else. So it's very important during this process of halter breaking that you understand that and you don't go flailing your arms around. Don't raise your voice, because that's going to be directly translated into their level of excitability. And really during this point of the process, you're trying to establish and gain their trust. So it's very important that you recognize that, and that will accelerate things dramatically. You really want to have a good halter as well, a good nylon halter, so that it doesn't bind up around their muzzle, and particularly try to get a newer halter, because even a halter that is a nylon that's old and frayed, it won't slide very easily. This won't slide very easily, and that's very important when you're breaking a calf that's going to be pulling hard against that, because it'll tighten down around their muzzle, and really that just adds an additional amount of stress to them, but it also makes it so they potentially can't open their mouth to even eat. I've had to cut those off in years past in doing that. So it's just, again, that's a helpful tip, is to try to make sure that the rope that you're using is a new rope. Yeah, he's doing fantastic. A lot of times they'll a lot of times they may wind up choking themselves out before you can get the halter on them. So it cuts off the air supply, and they'll go unconscious. They're not being hurt, but they'll go unconscious. And sometimes that's actually the better thing to happen, because then you can go ahead and proceed and get the rope on them. But again, it's not that they're being hurt. They'll just go unconscious, but they can brace themselves, and you're just going to fight them. So one of the things that you can do when doing that is you go from side to side, and their front feet they'll have to step over their front feet. So you pull them to this side, they'll step, you pull them to that side, and then they step, and you're making forward progress as you go. So this guy's like almost halter broke. Come on, dude. you may have several calves on the same rail, and there's nothing to keep this halter from going back and forth. So if you take and make a full loop, which makes a bite, just like that, and then I'll go over the top. You can either do it underneath or over the top, depending on your orientation. But in this instance, I'm going to go over the top and then just reach over, make a loop underneath, and then just simply a slip knot, such as that. And then I'll always run this back in as a safety, like that. And then you can just cinch it up, walk away, and then that animal can sit there and, you know, have this amount of space, battle the rope, but this rope isn't going to slide because it's bound on here. And then you may have another calf, you know, 4 feet away, another calf 4 feet away, and so on and so forth. So come in a little closer and I'll show you. You know, this is really important to tie them up with something that's easily removable, because sometimes these calves will get themselves into a position where it's, you know, man, he's such a nice guy there. Look at you. Sometimes they will get themselves into a predicament where you need to get them out quickly. And so that's no more than just taking that out, popping that, and you're good to go. Is, as you can see, the food is right here, and then the water trough's right there. You've got a very short distance from one to the other. And really that's what they're concerned with. They're concerned with eating and not being harmed. So if you just, again, move very slowly, take your time with them. Another thing that you can do is drop this on the ground and allow them for 24 hours or so to walk around. And as they step on this rope, it's going to turn their head. And that's going to, like, they're going to realize, hey, there's something on my head that I can't get off. And it's I don't like it, but it's not killing me. What I'm going to do in this instance is I'm going to tie this animal up. He can fight with this rope if he wants. And then a couple of times a day or twice a day, I will move him once in the morning, once in the evening, feed him, you know, come in, maybe do a little petting. So as he's bracing, I can come to this side, get him to go. And now he's heading that way. I can angle off to this direction and get him to step that way. And I'll give him enough rope where he can kind of do his thing, but not harm himself. I don't want him to get tangled up or get turned around. So I'll bring him in a little bit closer. Maybe I'll put him over here on this rung, so you can have full access to the feed. And again, come in here, got my bite going underneath this time, and just back down through there. And you've got your little loop there, slip knot. And then I'll just throw a safety in there like that, and then cinch it up. And that's going to stay right there. It's now 2 days later, and this animal is much different than the first day. A lot of times at this stage, they're still kind of fighting it a bit. So if you give them a little bit of room, you pull on them, let them get their head back. But if you continually just pull, they're going to fight it even more. So it's important to kind of recognize that and just work with the animal. Another thing that will help to accelerate this is just the proximity from food to water. That's what they're most interested in, is getting food and getting water. And again, not being harmed by the human that's now in control of them. So once they learn that their water is right over here, they're just going to naturally want to walk to it. They know that their food is back over here. They're naturally going to want to travel back to that direction. So if it's an animal that you've raised off of your property, or if it's an animal that you've purchased, try to identify and recognize animals that are going to be a little bit calmer and a little bit more easy to domesticate. You can see that in their demeanor. If they have a very high head, the animal gets very erect. Their ears are forward and kind of up. Their eyes are popped out. They're looking around. So if you see an animal like that, that's going to be an animal that's much harder to domesticate. And that just goes through genetic selection. So there aren't any animals on our property that we've kept here when they display that tendency. So we would not want to pass that genetic predisposition on to the rest of our herd. And also too, they're going to translate that body language into everything else. If when you walk into the field, the ears go up and the head goes up, that sends a message to the others that you are some kind of a threat or potentially a predator. So just be aware of that. That's not necessarily specific to what's necessary to halter break a calf. But again, it's one of those things that as a new owner of livestock, you really want to recognize that. And that could be with any type of livestock. So just reading that body language, I can't overemphasize the importance of that aspect of it. But you can see how calm he is. And again, I have not really spent that much time with this animal. A little bit in the evening, a little bit in the daytime, just coming out and leading him to the water, leading him back to the food, but he's not freaking out, probably because of that genetic selection I just was talking about. His parents are very calm. His parents are all been halter broken, where we spend time interacting with these animals. So that has a lot to do with your success in halter breaking and how quickly it's going to occur for you. But yeah, most animals can be broken and domesticated if you can train them to go from what it is that they want, which is their water and food. That's obviously, you know, a physiological survival need and instinct. And that's the best way to get them to comply with something that's unnatural for them, which is putting a rope around their neck and having, you know, something that could clearly walk away from you and overpower you, to just be calm and totally trained to do that. Please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. I hope that was helpful. See you next time.